On today's show, can James Gunn direct a ragtag group of heroes in a crazy world? Probably not. And then we have World War Z. That's going to get a sequel. And if you like zombies, look no further than Collider Movie Talk, because it's starting right now. Woo! Pet Sematary. Every Pet Sematary image and props, we're going to have to talk about it here.
Yeah.
Because they're just so darn scary. But we're not. We're here, lovable and cuddly as always. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Collider Movie Talk. My name is Mark. Over there is Jeff. Over there further is John. And we have a lot of movie news to get to today. First up, even before the stuff you may be aware of, is that we just had a teaser trailer drop for the new Netflix movie that's going to be directed by Jake Kasdan, who also did Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and he's reteaming with a star from that movie, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, to do John Henry and the Statesman, based on the African-American folklore legend John Henry. He's building a railroad. You see a little bit of it with The Rock. Gentlemen, real quick, you liked the teaser? You don't like the teaser? What's going on in your worlds with John Henry and the Statesman?
I love the teaser. I think it's fantastic. I love that they used a Johnny Cash song. I'm a little disappointed they didn't use the Ballad of John Henry song that Johnny Cash is saying, that 8-minute masterpiece of his. That being said, good visuals. The size of The Rock walking through a lighted hallway or a doorway is really powerful, so I'm excited for that. And John Henry is one of those ones that one of those folklore legends that I gravitated to when I was a kid. Pecos Bill, Paul Bunyan, those are the guys that I enjoyed seeing, and because they almost always have tragic endings. So to see him taking on a role like this is exciting.
Jeff Sneider, you cool with The Rock taking on the role of John Henry?
Heck yeah, listen to The Rock here. Every morning at the mine, you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder and narrow at the hip, and everybody knew they didn't give no lip to Big John. If that doesn't sound like The Rock to you, who does? You know, I think it's good casting. It's good to see Dwayne push himself, stretch his wings, try to do something a little bit different than just a kind of standard action movie that we see him in. I like that he's exploring folklore and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be on Netflix. I believe it's his first venture with Netflix, so it's landing there. You can check out the teaser on YouTube right now. More on that story as it develops. In the meantime, you like developing stories? You like continually developing stories? Boy, we got a good one for you, because you may remember Guardians of the Galaxy 3 kicked James Gunn off. Disney fired him after they saw some tweets that he issued years ago. They didn't take kindly to them, so they kicked him off the project. And then James Gunn, what's he going to do next? What kind of project is he going to take on? Is he going to just go back to maybe making a small independent feature? Is he going to try to team with another big studio? And that big studio could be Warner Brothers, and that big project could be another comic book movie in a competing universe, Suicide Squad 2. Suicide Squad 2, the first movie, you can say what you want about the first movie. It cost under $200 million to make. Its budget reportedly around $175 million. It ended up scoring $756 million worldwide. Certainly worth a sequel, and they want to extend the universe and continue to tell these stories. Gavin O'Connor of The Accountant and other films fame was going to be the director until, according to sources, the script that he had in mind for furthering the Suicide Squad mission seemed a little similar to what they wanted to do with Birds of Prey. When Birds of Prey started to pick up steam, O'Connor left. Now enter the possibility of James Gunn. This is according to an IO9 report, who also says that James Gunn would be writing and directing it, and he may want to take it in a different direction, which could mean soft reboot. So we don't even know if any of the original cast that we know and love are going to come back to Suicide Squad 2. But James Gunn coming back, I don't know what this does for James Gunn, but I know this does an awful lot for the DCU, in my opinion, because this is telling comic book fans, we are here to make quality movies, and if somebody at Disney isn't good enough for them, we're going to take them and we're going to do something fun and adventurous. Now, I'm of the mind that James Gunn should not have been fired. I also think that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not going to suffer for not having James Gunn all that much. But James Gunn is a talented director. He's a big name, especially right now. And now he might be doing Suicide Squad 2. Jeff Sneider, how much of this report do you buy as actually going down? Will he write it? Will he direct it?
I think so. I think that this will end up happening. I mean, he has closed a deal to write the script, and then he will turn in the script. And if they like it and they like this take on the sequel or whatever it's going to be, whether it's a soft reboot or whatever, then they'll go from there and decide, is this a movie that we want to make, A, and do we want to have James directing it, B?
Okay, so who does he keep from Suicide Squad? who does he
I mean, that's a great question. When the reports came in, I thought that was the most interesting thing about them. We have Jermaine at IO9 saying that Gunn has a completely new take on the property. What does that mean? Like, are we going to have a new cast? How do you get rid of Will Smith, who's one of the biggest movie stars in the world, and Margot Robbie? I don't think that the problem with Suicide Squad was the cast at all. They had good pieces there, just didn't have a good story to tell with them, and hopefully that's where James Gunn will come in and fix things.
There was some problems with the cast. But I would say
Enchantress. But she's not part of the squad.
I know, but she was part of the squad when they initially put them together.
Sure,
but I take your point, Jeff. But what I'll say to you is this: they can do this because the Suicide Squad has changed lineups in the comics many times. So it wouldn't be a surprise for them to move us around. Amanda Waller is always looking for new villains that she can convert and use for her own nefarious means and positive means as well. So it's certainly possible. I like that you've got a new blood in here, something like James Gunn. I'm of Mark Ellis's opinion that I don't think he should have been fired either, but I do think they will. I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 has a potential to suffer with a new director in there. So if he comes in, he writes this thing, he directs this thing, and Suicide Squad 2 is more revered and appreciated by fans than Suicide Squad, the first film, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 comes out and is not as good as 1 or 2 box office wise or quality wise, then James Gunn has himself a little bit of a sit back on his patio with a smile on his face and his hands behind his head, and he goes, yeah, this was a bunch of do about nothing. I can direct a movie. I understand what I'm doing. I'm progressing as a human being, and I'm getting rewarded in this way. And so, to me, I love this idea, and this feels a little like sports. You both know sports. It feels like a Red Sox going to play for a Yankee, or for the Yankees. It feels like a Red Sox going to play for the Yankees.
It's just going to be the Babe Ruth trade where it's like now like Marvel is going to be cursed for 90 years or whatever.
Yeah, it's like Johnny Damon going and playing for the Yankees for a little bit and getting himself another ring with us as opposed to leaving the Sox.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
I'm just saying, it's that kind of switch.
I think that this is a good thing for I didn't personally want to see James Gunn doing a comic book movie. I wanted to see him do something else. But I like you said, I don't think you can make a worse movie than Suicide Squad. I don't think James Gunn is capable of making a worse movie than the original Suicide Squad. So in that sense, he can't lose. No matter what he ends up with, it is going to be an improvement on that first film. It's a huge win for Warner Brothers to lure a marquee comic book universe name like James Gunn over to their side from Marvel. And who knows? It sounds like he could be bringing his buddy Dave Bautista, who already volunteered. He's like, hey, take me with you.
Yeah, Dave Bautista on Twitter did quote tweet some of this news and say that, in paraphrasing what he said, that he's in for this. So,
wow.
Very interesting times right now. And again, a lot of this is going to be settled, and it's probably going to be much ado about nothing in the terms of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is going to be still wildly successful, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a fine movie. And Suicide Squad 2, that's the real issue. It's not whether James Gunn is capable of directing a movie or what he's going to be doing next. It's whether anybody can come in and resurrect some good vibes into Suicide Squad, and by proxy, the rest of the DCEU, not named Wonder Woman. Is there one director, and is this the guy that's going to be able to turn the tide of the rest? Because as of right now, people look at DC, there's some exciting properties coming out for sure, with the Birds of Prey concept, Supergirl, even Shazam, or even the Joker movie that's standalone and not in this universe, but it's a DC property. All of a sudden, if James Gunn comes in and makes Suicide Squad 2 good, what does that do for the overall universe?
I think it can only lead to good things, having a guy like James Gunn sort of be part of that brain trust like he was over at Marvel. I think this is a kind of brilliant move on Warner Brothers' part. They lost Alan Horn to Disney, or they let Alan Horn go, and he wound up at Disney. And now they're taking talent from Disney. Yeah. Like I said all along, when all the Guardians 3 stuff was going down, James Gunn is going to be fine. He was always going to, have offers on the table. It's just, I understand why. I know you guys think he shouldn't have been fired, and I see what you're saying, but he had to be fired. It wasn't, they had no options there. But yeah, Warner Brothers is as good as any place to go to.
Well, look at this. Is this an FU from Gunn to Disney by taking this job?
Yes.
Okay. Second thing is this. To your point that you make here,
but when you ask that question, is this an FU from Gunn to Marvel? I think the way you have to phrase that is that the primary motivation?
Well, sure.
It's an FU from Warner Brothers to Disney more than anything, because they decide who gets the job.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at here. What you asked for this question right now, Mark, you're asking, does this indicate something about DC? Does this turn this thing around? I think what you listed, the properties, there's a lot of positive buzz now coming into DC. People are now looking forward to that Joker movie, the Wonder Woman 1984 movie, Shazam,
Aquaman.
The Aquaman 5-minute trailer. People are like supremely on board now. So this idea of putting in someone like James Gunn, now you have the fact that DC is not a place you can go to and necessarily not have a little bit of baggage and not have an issue to go, or not have a chance to go and create something really fantastic. And you've got a bunch of different directors walking in here of different styles doing some interesting work here. Patty Jenkins, James Wan, and now you have James Gunn possibly in this situation. And you wonder where it can go next. But to me, it's a different stable of filmmakers than the stable of filmmakers you have with the MCU. And I like it. They're more like the rebel kids. They're more like the rebel kids in class versus the kids that are always doing their homework and making those cute jokes and being the quarterback and the cheerleader. That's the MCU. These are more the rebel kids, and I kind of like it.
I'm curious about what happened with Gavin O'Connor. Like, how are they paying this guy to write a script that then turns out to be too similar to something else that they've already paid for in Birds of Prey?
It seems like they like to meld those two ideas. And I mean, there's similar concepts in the conceit that there's superheroes or that maybe viewed as anti-heroes that are coming together, and then there's a bigger bad out there. There's other characters you may know in that exist somewhere in that universe, like what we got with Joker and Suicide Squad. So I can see where it would get somewhere, but it also seems easy enough to give a guy like Gavin O'Connor and to be able to write that. And so because he became so disenfranchised with that, apparently that's why he decided to go do the Has-Been with Ben Affleck.
But like that Has-Been project has been in the works for a while. Like Affleck's been training on how to play basketball essentially. He's been doing basketball practice for weeks. I don't know. It's weird to me that I guess the James Gunn news, because it's so big and exciting, it overshadowed the fact that there's yet another director leaving the DC universe.
Well, we see this happen with politics all the time, and it happens to both parties. Is that one will stand on the moral high ground and say, no, we're drawing a line in the sand, and the other party will be like, all right, fine, we're not going to draw that line in the sand, and you see how that shakes out. And this is kind of what the DCU has done, where it's like, okay, Disney, you want to give yourself that standard that no director of any movie coming up can have illicit tweets from years ago, then we will take directors that have said stupid things online in the past. Hopefully they're better human beings now, and we can move on and make good movies. That seems to be what they're saying. Is there a risk, though, for James Gunn in having these talks and getting all this creative freedom? Because as both you gentlemen alluded to, we have not seen the DCU with the best track record for keeping directors once they have talks or once they get even hired to do a project. So if James Gunn comes on to Suicide Squad 2 for a little bit and then suddenly departs, does that give him a bigger stand than he has now?
Man, that's tough. If he departs, I think that's a big blemish on you. If you're DC, you bring him in with this fanfare, this whole huge deal. This guy with his track record of directing these two fantastic films, and of course there's other films that he's directed as well, walk into the situation and you can't make it work with this guy. Then the whisper starts to become louder again about why can't DC keep these directors that are good directors. Why can't they keep them? Why do they keep changing? Why do they keep leaving? You look at that Flash saga that just keeps having directors come in and walk out. It be rivaling the Gambit saga. So certainly that's something that
Gavin O'Connor was always kind of Affleck's guy too. Having worked with him on The Accountant and now doing this basketball.
That's why a lot of people thought Batman might have a bigger role in Suicide Squad too.
Well, exactly, and maybe this indicates
something.
Maybe this indicates that that's not the case. That they've moved on from that idea.
Okay, I mean, it seems like the tea leaves are reading right now, and Jermaine Lucier's article was great. He's a good follow on Twitter. I think he's a good reporter when it comes to this stuff. I tend to think this is going to happen, and if it does happen, I think there's certain members of the original Suicide Squad you could keep. If you're doing a fantasy draft, who's your number one and your number two pick from the first Suicide Squad movie that you say, hey, I'm James Gunn, I need to have these people. I can sacrifice these other people, but these two need to come back.
It's different things for me because Harley Quinn is clearly the breakout of Suicide Squad, and that's why there's like 5 different
She's
movies.
my number 1 round draft pick, and Will Smith.
And Will Smith, you don't just cast aside because he's one of the biggest movie stars in the world and he helps guarantee box office. However, if I was picking like a character and an actor who I just really enjoyed, I really like Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang. A lot of people don't like him, and I understand why, but I thought he actually worked quite well as Captain Boomerang.
Okay, I like Jai Courtney as well, too.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't like him in the movie? Or are you just saying that because he's Jai Courtney?
I don't want to say anything against Jai Courtney. Here's what I'll say to you.
What is he, your roommate?
No, I just don't.
Is he watching the show?
I don't trust angry Aussies. I would say Will Smith, number one for me.
Okay.
I went back and forth on Margot Robbie as the Harley Quinn because it's a version of Harley Quinn. It's not the Harley Quinn that I necessarily like the best. That's what I would say. But it's a version of Harley Quinn that was very powerful.
I think Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
That's Viola Davis. Viola Davis from other, but you have to keep Viola and you have to keep Will, in my opinion, because you don't necessarily need Harley
Viola
Quinn.
really part of the squad?
She's Amanda Waller. She puts the squad together.
I could
Is she
spot you
going on
Amanda
missions
Waller.
though?
I could spot you Amanda Waller and just say she's definitely going to be part of the movie going
Yeah, I don't
forward.
see how they get rid of an actress of that caliber either.
You just hate Jai Courtney. Why?
That's not true. I don't hate Jai Courtney.
All right, let's move on to something that we can all agree on, or at least report the news as fact, and that is that Annapurna Pictures is no longer going to be distributing the new Fox News movie that was set to star Charlize Theron and Nicole Kidman. It was about all the goings on, the sexual harassment allegations against Roger Ailes that ultimately got him out at Fox News. Brave women that stood up against it. And, oh no, do we not have a movie? We still might have a movie because Annapurna Pictures dropped out, and this is just weeks before the movie is going to start shooting, but sources are saying, at least according to Variety, that a new distributor could swoop in and save the day. John Rocha, is this a movie that you want to see be rescued and seen to theaters, or is it something that Annapurna might have dropped for a reason other than what they claimed? Because Annapurna claimed that they're dropping this because the budget's starting to balloon a little bit. Do you buy that, or is there more political strings being tugged here?
Yeah, I find that that's where I'm kind of falling into that camp, that there was something more. Like we saw, look, I don't want fans to get angry. We just want to talk movies, but this is a movie about a political situation, about Fox News, about Roger Ailes, about Rupert Murdoch. You've got a great cast lined up here. You have Margot Robbie, who's on a hell of a run here, producing and being in these films that are quality films. And you want to take this away from Annapurna Pictures, which does some interesting films that do push the boundaries, both independent and a little more mainstream in their approach. So why is this moving on? Do they want a bigger distributor? Do they want a bigger platform for this movie possibly? Or is this a political situation where they see that the Kavanaugh thing got approved, they see that Trump is still out there, and it looks like nothing's going to happen at
you
this
think
political
Annapurna Pictures doesn't want to ruffle the feathers?
That's what I feel like. It feels like to me that Annapurna is starting to see, well, maybe we don't need to do these kinds of political films. Maybe they're not going to make the money we think they're going to make. Maybe there's not a point to make this film. But I think it's unfortunate if they lose this opportunity, or that they are losing this opportunity, because this is a great cast. This is an interesting story to tell. And what's been great about films over the last 20 to 30 years have been their political films. The political films that have focused on political stuff. I've really enjoyed seeing the exploration when it's done even-handed. That's been a fun thing to do. And I just think it's I hope it's not for that reason, but it certainly feels like it, given the mood politically of what's going on in the country right now.
All right. Do you see that is the primary reason that Fox News, fair and balanced as though they may be, is the reason why Annapurna may not be wanting to get into that game because of the Republican Party in power? Or do you think it's simply because of what they say, it's a ballooning budget, and maybe according to the Wrap, Focus Features is in the running to come in and buy them out?
Tell you, this story knocked my socks off today, especially when you pair it with the other movie that Annapurna dropped, the Hustlers at Scores, the Jennifer Lopez movie, and the fact that Annapurna also lost its president of film, Chelsea Barnard, today, who was overseeing these two projects. So is it almost like a regime change kind of thing, where you have the executive who has been overseeing and championing these projects is now leaving, and so the projects are going with her? Is it, like you said, a ballooning budget? I don't understand how they don't know what this movie was going to cost, though. Like, you have three of the biggest actresses in the world in Margot Robbie, Charlize Theron, and Nicole Kidman. So you had to know that the movie's not going to come cheap necessarily. Right. I agree that there probably could be some ulterior motives. Like, that's conspiracy theory Jeff coming out. Like, Megan Ellison, her father Larry Ellison. Were there some overtures made? I don't know, and I don't want to speculate on that. And I just know that, looking at Annapurna's track record, it is very mixed.
And you do see that a lot with regime changes when a new president or new head honcho comes into a studio where certain projects stick and other projects they come in. It's like any job you've ever had where a new boss comes in, or they hire they hire the Bobs from Office Space, and they come in and they give a big rousing.
Destroyer was okay. If Beale Street Could Talk, that's going to be a big awards contender. They have a Linklater film, Where'd You Go, Bernadette, with Cate Blanchett. So like they're making movies that I think are going to be a little bit more commercial, but I can see how they may have been reluctant to go all in on this one, because do people really want to go to the movies on a Saturday night to go see a sexy sexual harassment drama. Like, this is more for TV.
Well,
I'm serious. I think this is the kind of material that is more for television. It's why Showtime is doing its version with Naomi Watts and Russell Crowe. I just think that people go to the movies for escapist fare these days. And
right, so you're not saying this story shouldn't be seen. It's just the format.
It's not that it shouldn't be told. It's just, are people going to spend $16 to go to the movies on the weekend? Is this going to sell in China? Like, no, I don't think that it will.
If you look at the model, the distribution model for movies that are coming out in theaters, it does speak to the point of a lot of theater owners, a lot of studios are starting to look at places like Netflix. Like our opening story today was about a Netflix movie.
Right, this is a mid-budget drama that would be perfect for Netflix.
Yeah, and do stars, because all these stars that we're talking about, most of them that are making streaming projects aren't taking this huge fat paycheck. They're getting paid, but it's not an obscene amount of money like what you used to get with $20 million paychecks. Sometimes that's still the case to get Netflix or a streaming service rolling, but with this, if you're not getting that and you're not releasing it in theaters, it makes sense to me that you might want to release it on a different platform. But that movie Vice is also Annapurna, and that's certainly not going to be glowing reviews of the Republican administration, although that's George W. and Dick Cheney, not the current administration.
I just think, and the trailer for Vice didn't make it look like, at least in my opinion, the trailer didn't make it look like that would be necessarily a negative portrayal of Cheney and Bush.
I don't know what trailer you're
Well, that's
watching.
my opinion. That's my opinion. He looked like a badass.
Jai Courtney just texted, your opinion's wrong.
Did he?
Jai
really?
Courtney just texted that.
Tell him to learn how to throw a boomerang.
Close.
Listen, what I'm saying, come on, is that too far?
Oh my
Is that
dear.
too far?
Oh dear.
No, but I think what you're saying is an interesting point, Jeff. This idea of, is there an Ellison connection here? Is there more involved here? Are they moving on as a financial thing? But also, there may be stuff from their end going, well, look, this doesn't look like a stable situation for us to make this movie here. Let's move this out, but let's not try to be the bad guys in this situation. If Focus Feature slides in and takes it, that's a good thing. It still has that gravitas. It still has, Focus Features has that track record of releasing these kinds of films and being successful with these kinds of films. And so you're right. Nobody on a Saturday night probably wants to go see the Fox News story on a Saturday night. But certainly on a Sunday afternoon, it's not a bad movie to see it.
Is part of Universal, though. So that is a big studio that can afford to lose.
Exactly.
Let's just say if they lost it, because I don't know if they would, but they can afford to lose $35 million here and there. Annapurna can't do it. Like, Megan Ellison is God bless her for being a patron of the arts. And when you look at the IMDb list, like, you can't deny the artistry of some of these films, but this is a business, and the point is to make money. And when you're releasing movies like Brad's Status and The Bad Batch and Detroit and Sisters Brothers, which has not even cracked $1 million yet, like, you have to keep the lights on. You owe it to your employees, and you're not. And a movie like this is not going to do that. I don't think.
Oh, it's not going to do that. And that was a good conversation about a lot of different things. Now we're going to pack it all up and say, we'll keep you posted on what happens with this movie when it gets a title or a distributor. Still looking forward to catching it. Hopefully the cast sticks in and we get to see this movie in some form sooner rather than later. Want to remind you guys, we have plenty of podcasts around here. We have this podcast feed. It's Movie Talk. You're watching us right now. We appreciate you seeing the handsomeness, but you can also listen anytime. Apple Podcast, iTunes, Podcast One, wherever you get your podcasts. You can check out Movie Talk. You can check out Mailbag and Afterthoughts. And we move on to our next story. That's World War Z. Remember it? Brad Pitt was in it. Good movie. Brad Pitt and Julianne Moore, and they fought against zombies. There was an uprising. Reshot a lot of the third act, but it still ended up being a pretty cool movie. All the zombies they piled in. Well, there was going to be a sequel, and there was going to be a sequel for a while. For J.A. Bayona was going to be doing it for a couple of years. Then he went off to do a dinosaur movie, and David Fincher came in, but then we weren't really sure when David Fincher was going to get going, and now it appears that David Fincher is still directing World War Z 2, and it's set to shoot in 2019. That's going to be June 2019, and I don't know if we can take that with any more grains of salt than what we have here in the kitchen. Do you guys like that we're going to be finally seeing World War Z 2 directed by David Fincher, Brad Pitt returning? Do you buy this story? Is it going to happen?
I just don't see it happening, no. I've been hearing this for how many years now? 3 or 4 years?
I mean, the first one came out in 2013.
Right.
So.
I think that World War Z 2 was at one point supposed to come out last summer. in the summer of 2017 was the initial release date. I just don't know why David Fincher would want to do this. Maybe it's that he's been working in TV on a kind of. I love Mindhunter; it's brilliant, but it's a slow series, and maybe he just wants to get crazy and have zombies running around and direct these big action sequences. Maybe it's just that kind of change of pace. But man, this one didn't make sense to me 2 years ago. It still doesn't make sense to me now.
Well, this news comes to us courtesy of Variety, because Variety interviewed the producers, Dee Gardner and Jeremy Kleiner, who said that Pitt and Fincher are still attached. They can vibe together pretty well, and they could go off and make a cool zombie movie. I'd be up for a World War Z sequel. Would you, Rocha?
I'd be up for a 14. The sequel to 7, I'd be up for that. If they were getting together, Fincher and Pitt, I'd be looking to see what happens.
14 deadly sins? That's a lot of sinning in one movie.
I just want to see what happens to him after he found someone's head in a box. Here's what I'll say to you. I agree with Jeff. I don't understand why Fincher would do a sequel to something he didn't direct the first film of. It seems a little weird to me. But this material might be interesting for him to do an exploration of a zombie situation. I wasn't the biggest fan of World War Z. I like Pitt in it and Morella Enos, who played his wife. I like that. But the zombies themselves were CGI'd and were very boring.
I thought it was Julianne Moore. You're right.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if there was a doctor there. But the zombies themselves, to me, it was a little. It wasn't scary. It was just weird. And so I didn't necessarily feel what I think they were intending for the audience to feel, at least on my end. So to see a sequel for this, I wasn't clamoring for one. It doesn't seem to make sense that Fincher would do one. That being said, maybe Pitt and him are really good friends. He's like, look, I got this pretty awesome script. It's more of an exploration of what this world would actually be like. Kind of like the first few seasons of Walking Dead, dealing with the fact that there are zombies and it's a way of life. Like, you have to deal with this. What do we do? That would be interesting, I guess, to explore. But you put Fincher's name on anything, I'm excited. But something like this, I don't know if he'd do a sequel. Like, I just don't see the point of it.
I don't see the point of it necessarily from Brad Pitt or David Fincher's perspective.
Pitt
That's
too.
the problem, is that I do want to see it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's like, is this movie really, is it going to change? Because in 2013 and when this movie is going to start shooting in 2019, very different eras in terms of zombies. Like, you see,
we're kind of done.
You see the soaring popularity of Walking Dead for a while, and then not so much anymore.
Right.
I haven't heard any reviews on the new season, so I just stopped watching last year for whatever reason.
To me, you got to strike while the iron is hot with these sequels. And World War Z, I did like it. And maybe it's because I had low expectations going into it.
But are we done with zombies now? Is my point. Like, is it harder to pull off a zombie movie now than it was even 5-10 years ago? I think
you're right. I think it is. Yes. Yes. Given, Fear the Walking Dead, all that stuff. Yeah. But I like the screenwriter that they have here, Dennis Kelly. I think that's the Utopia guy that Fincher was working with for a while. But I don't. Why does Pitt want to go back and play Jerry Lane again?
And it's not like it's not like Jerry Lane's iconic character.
Go make another zombie movie that just isn't World War Z and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just keep making zombie movies, Brad. Don't call them World War Z.
I don't know.
That sounds fair. All right, kids. Well, you remember the movie Fair Game? I certainly do. Changed my life when I saw it. Billy Baldwin, Cindy Crawford, mid-90s. I'm seeing that is not actually the movie we're talking about. We're talking about Doug Liman's Fair Game. Do you not remember that movie? Because Doug Liman, celebrated director, made a movie based on CIA operative Valerie Plame. Now, if you don't remember what went down, this went down in the mid-2000s, where the Bush administration was criticized in an op-ed by Joe Wilson, and so as retaliation, they outed the identity of Wilson's wife, Valerie Plame, CIA operative. So all this stuff went down, and Scooter Libby was involved, and you probably know the name Scooter Libby, who was indicted, then was pardoned ultimately by Trump. So all this stuff went down, and a movie was made about it in 2010 from Summit Pictures, and it was called Fair Game. Doug Liman directed it. Sean Penn was in it. But Doug Liman wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. The movie that he made, there was some differences between him and Sean Penn in the editing room. And now, just from the magic of sheer editing and whatever else technologically we can do now, it does appear we're going to get another crack at Fair Game on Netflix. Doug Liman has gone back and he has made the special edition of Fair Game. This is just every bit as creative as what George Lucas did with A New Hope when he re-released it in '97 with all new effects and trinkets. And and we're getting it. The new version of Fair Game is going to hit digital platforms on October 23rd and Netflix on November 1st. It's one of these things as an artist where Doug Liman really wanted to make a movie, he wanted to make a statement in that movie, and he wanted to do it the way he wanted. Rocha doesn't seem like everybody else involved with that film was playing ball with his vision.
Yeah.
So now he's going to see it all these years later. I have no idea how the rights of a movie like this shake out, where if you and I have a project together and then 10 years down the road, I decide I want to re-release all the footage. Do you have say in that? Do I have say in that? We're going to get this version either way.
Yeah, well, and he went out of his way to kind of shade Sean Penn in these responses.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Sean Penn's not, a lot of people have difficulties with Sean Penn throughout his career, so not a surprise to read about. That doesn't mean he's right, doesn't mean Sean Penn was right, doesn't mean he's wrong. It's just his feeling about the situation. They maybe had two different points of views. Maybe Liman wasn't as strong of a player at that time to feel that he could tell Sean Penn, hey, you're doing something completely different than what I want to see in my film. Change it. But this is phenomenally interesting on so many levels. This idea that a director can go back, re-edit, essentially do a director's cut of his film and change something. Like how much footage did you have left over that you still had to go back in there and rearrange this whole thing and make it look completely different? And what is it about it that you just have to get right?
Well,
like, I just got to get it right.
I think what it is he's probably inspired by current events. I mean, he had a quote where he referenced Dr. Ford and Brett Kavanaugh and saying that I see this and that this movie is kind of the same thing where it's citizens standing up to the powers that be. And so he really has a political motivation to release this movie as well. It's something I'm interested in seeing. I honestly don't know if I remember seeing the movie. I don't know if Schmoes reviewed it. I have no idea.
I did see it. It was a bit of an okay movie. That's basically overall how it felt to me. But when you do this kind of situation, I just wonder, is this setting a precedent for other directors now to go back and start looking at them and goes, you know what, I'm going to go back and I know Lucas did that, not everybody did that, but that was a different situation.
Spielberg, it generally happens with the most beloved blockbusters of all time.
Right, exactly. So you have this situation and you walk it in, and what happens if it's not about Obama, it's not about Sean Penn, you re-edit this thing and people still are like, it's okay. Then who are you going to blame then, and how many? What do you do with that? Have you finally scratched that itch?
I think maybe there's just more of a hotbed politically for people to want to see movies that are going to cater to their interests.
Well, then maybe he should step in and direct this Annapurna picture.
I don't know how deep his wallet is, but he can step in, save this Fox News movie. Naomi Watts played Valerie Plame. Jeff Sneider, is this something that seems like a worthwhile endeavor from Lyman's perspective? Certainly creatively, he seems that it's going to be fulfilling. Do you see it fulfilling as to a viewer need on Netflix or digital distribution?
I'm glad that Doug Liman is making himself happy here, but wow, what a head scratcher. Who is paying for this, number one? Like, who is paying for him to spend
Netflix,
to send him back to the editing room? I can't, I didn't even see this movie. I remember, I think I was at Variety when it came out, and man, it's one of those movies that you intend to see, and then it comes out with very minimal fanfare, and then it's gone.
It's a classic, you see the trailer for a movie 3 months
and you think,
before
oh, that looks interesting, and then you don't see it opening weekend, and then within 2 weeks it's out of theaters, and then it's gone. I can't imagine any audience member, whether they've seen Fair Game or not, is clamoring for a recut edition. I thought that the quotes in the story were funny about Doug Liman being like, Sean Penn and I have different ideas of what a genius performance looks like, and how a performance may not be genius in front of the camera, but you can make it look genius in the editing room. I don't know, that kind of stuff was interesting, but wow, what a weird title to go back and take another crack at it.
Yeah, right?
Weird.
We report on a lot of movies on Netflix, and we talk about it, and then they come and go, and then you go home and you forget that some of these movies are already out on Netflix. Yeah. You guys caught any of the movies that we talked about?
I've been trying to catch Hold the Dark for the last week or two.
Good things.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and I haven't found the time to catch because there's almost all these other things that are going on. So I've had, because Stars Born, First Man, Venom, all these things are out now in the theaters. So throwing that on top, it's a little hard to catch up.
I try to see as much Netflix product as I can because I want to get a feel for the company's tastes. I think that they are, the company that demands the media's attention the most. I feel like I'm certainly tracking the most projects at Netflix because they're making the most. But it is impossible, even for someone like myself, to keep up with all the movies that they are putting out there. It's insane.
Yeah, it's just tough to even find it's tough when I turn on Netflix. They've seen what I've I've seen. You know, like they know what I'm watching, so they just throw all this Stand Up and Family Guy at me, and I'm like, you guys made movies though, right? And I talked about where are those? Where's all these movies I've been talking about? So the fair game is going to be there on November 1st, I believe. November 1st.
Game
there
on.
you go. But Doug Liman talking about Sean Penn like Mr. Hand talking to Spicoli. Wow.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more story to get to, and it's a scary poster. Before we get there, I want to remind you guys we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. Please do not bring up the Monday Night Massacre of last night. I watched it. I know. I saw it. Get all your jokes. Congratulations to Father of the Year, Drew Brees. First Pet Sematary poster. We're going to get a trailer tomorrow, apparently, but we just couldn't not talk about this poster today because it's just a guy and he's got a shovel. And we if you're a Pet Sematary fan, you know that he's been doing some digging and he's been doing some undigging. And I'm not sure that's an actual phrase, but
undigging?
I just made it up.
Some burying?
That's a graveyard term. Yeah, you know, you gotta, man, I dug this whole grave and now I got to do some undigging to get the cat out. And then the cat's going to come back. And that's the original one that I still have trouble watching. Rocha, Jeff, how excited are we for this trailer tomorrow?
Dale Midkiff, Denise Crosby, Fred
Good.
Gwynn.
Yeah, well.
You can't stop me.
Okay, you're not cutting a promo.
I'm sorry. I got a match coming up. I'm getting excited.
I heard about that.
Yeah. What's the catchphrase on the poster? Because it's a catchphrase from the film. Some things should stay dead, right?
Sometimes dead is better.
Sometimes dead is better. That's a great thing to use on the poster. Yeah. Sometimes dead is better. I love that.
Is this one of those times? I'm guessing it is.
What's that?
Jeff, we have something to tell you.
Oh yeah. No. But. That's a good poster. I like it. This film has always troubled me because it's just a cat, man. It's just a cat, dude. You cause all this problem for a cat, dude.
Oh, my
That being
goodness.
said.
Are you kidding
I know.
me?
Rachel Cushing's about to throw something at me.
Yeah, and Michael Myers walks 3 miles an hour. I'm more scared of the cat
I'm not disagreeing
than
with
I
you.
am Michael Myers.
No, I'm not scared. I'm not saying the cat. I'm saying he could have let it go. It was just a cat. He didn't have to bury the cat and have it come back to life. Like that was his. Like he could have just let the cat die, got the kid a new cat. But no, it was a little too much.
I understand emotional attachment to pets.
I like the. Yes, I know you do. Yeah, I like the feeling of the poster with the jagged pieces of wood sticking out and the obviously the crosses there. All that stuff puts you in a very horror vibe, and it's not like in color. It's in this black or brown and white kind of vibe, so I dig it. And
Looks
the
like a
clouds
place
are
you
dark.
shouldn't go.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeff Sneider, Pet Sematary trailer.
Judges down.
Oh, boo.
This is not a good poster. Pet Sematary has the original has a great poster. I remember you'd go into the video store and you'd see, those
See his
haunted
dead
eyes.
friends.
Yes.
Yeah, the eyes. Or you do something with the cat. A guy with a shovel surrounded by crosses and
teaser poster.
bones. Yeah, but okay, if you're gonna make a bad teaser poster, if you're gonna have me crapping on it here, don't release it. It's a teaser poster, so it can be bad. I don't understand. I don't like the sometimes dead is better and huge font. I don't like the font for Pet Sematary. I don't even like the credit block of just the 4 names there. I don't like anything about it.
I'm sorry you didn't like our poster.
Yeah, sorry, Grandpa.
I brought it.
I look forward to the trailer.
Like the poster and
I look forward to the trailer. I'm a
It
Pet
doesn't sound like
Sematary
you're looking
fan.
forward to the trailer.
No, because I am. You asked me about the poster as a piece of graphic design. This is a thumbs down. My brother will make a better poster than this.
All
Sorry.
right. The challenge has been out there. Snyder's brother. No, you're a big Celtics fan. Are you a big fan of making Pet Sematary posters?
He couldn't name one person on the Celtics. It's the other brother.
Oh yeah, I saw you and a brother went to Game 7.
Yeah.
There's more than one
There's
Snyder?
2 brothers. One would know the Celtics, and the other one would design a better poster.
I would
They're
take
growing
both
everywhere.
the Snyder brothers out to dinner to talk about this fool. I would love to hear the stories
have
about
all
this
the
fool.
stories.
Holy mackerel, would I love to do that.
Well, we don't have that much time in the show today, but we do have some time to remind you guys that there's a new episode of Collider Live tomorrow. You can catch it from 10 a.m. to noon, and you get the rule of 2. 2 people talking about Star Wars. 1 topic, and they have a hot debate about it. You also can catch Collider Heroes, hosted by Coy and Amy. I don't know if Brett Sheridan's going to sneak in this episode.
No.
Our Twitter questions include Chris El Spooko. He's getting into the season. Some people are, Jeff. And he says, with words like Kubrickian, Lynchian, Spielbergian, officially added to the dictionary.
What?
I mean, the film lexicon. What directors do you think are worthy of having their own adjective? So add to that list. You got Kubrick,
Scorsesean, is that in there?
Scorsese?
Copeland?
You have to make it sound somewhat.
Wellesian would be good. Orson Welles.
I think Wellesian should be.
Wellesian's nice, right?
Yeah, Wellesian definitely. Do you have a director that belongs in the lexicon of Ian?
I heard a lot of uproar actually about this because there were no female filmmakers' names added. So people were saying, Bigalovian?
Bigelosian.
Bigalovian? I don't know.
Bigalovian, okay.
I would say Spherian.
Penelope Spheres?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm down with that.
These were actually added to the dictionary?
Yeah, I guess so. But what makes something Tarantino-esque? Is it just somebody, spouting, shooting a gun and saying a catchphrase or something? Well, that's the
thing. I remember getting in a debate with somebody who shall remain nameless, but they happen to be a schmo, and we were talking about American Hustle, and he was talking about how he just felt like the director of American Hustle was trying to emulate Scorsese with a lot of quick zoom-ins, and I get that, but it's Scorsese doesn't have a copyright over the pan button, or the zoom button. It's, Scorsese does use.
Yeah, it's more of a feeling. Some of these Lynchian, whatever it is, than it is like a definition.
Yeah.
Hitchcockian
has to be in there already.
Yeah.
So there we go.
David O. Russell directed American Hustle. Interesting. It's a good film.
Good movie. Really good movie.
Really good movie.
It's on airplanes.
Fantastic director too.
You can catch on airplanes all the time.
Yeah.
Fantastic cast. Check out American Hustle as we hustle on to the next question. See that, Rocha?
Yeah. Good
Marco
job.
Gonzalez is up next, and he says, if Dave Bautista makes the jump to D.C., who should he play?
Ooh.
He suggests Bane.
No!
I've got one.
Bane.
Lobo.
Nope.
No.
By the way, I only know so many hulking DC characters.
I was about to ratify the decision. Who do you say?
Lobo? No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's too big to be Sandman.
He's not. Batista is a cool, introspective, vulnerable guy, hiding behind those muscles. Lobo is not his thing. You got to have
Jai Courtney for Lobo.
Penguin? What about Penguin?
He could be the Riddler. Question mark. I don't know. It's a good question.
I think Bane's a pretty good starting point. I agree with you.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions. I don't know. Maybe Bizarro? He'd be funny as Bizarro. Superman Bizarro, the alternate. He would have the jokes. He'd be funny. He'd be sympathetic. There's certainly possibilities there for him to play Bizarro.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're just being contrarian. I think we gave you Bane.
He doesn't have the essence to play Lobo. He doesn't have that natural badass essence that Lobo has.
Who would you cast as Lobo? You can cast anybody.
The Rock would be great as Lobo. The Rock is a badass.
I kind of would have liked Momoa, but he's busy.
Momoa maybe too.
He's busy.
Yeah.
He's got the hair
Momoa works
for it.
actually better than anybody else. Yeah.
All right, and one more question, then we'll call it a day. Satyendra Banerjee says, in the wake of the Pet Sematary poster that we all love, what's your favorite movie poster?
Oh, Jesus.
Simple enough. All-time favorite movie poster.
Oh, for God's sakes.
What do we got?
Oh man, I don't.
It doesn't necessarily mean it even needs to be a movie that you like, because the Phantom Menace teaser poster, again, Jeff, it was a teaser poster with Anakin, little kid standing there in the shadow of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
That's a badass teaser poster.
Yeah.
I don't know. Still, my favorite. I think my favorite poster of all time is my third favorite Indiana Jones movie, and it's Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. I own it. It's framed. I think it's still here at Collider somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just him, Indiana Jones. He's got the huge knife or sword, whatever the hell that thing is.
Sure.
And he says, or the tagline says, "If adventure has a name, it must be Indiana Jones."
I've got an answer.
Pretty cool.
I've got an answer.
Oh boy.
Do you have one?
I have 2 or 3. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna go with A Clockwork Orange.
Good answer.
Yeah, that image and just the coloring it has withstood
orange.
the test of time for me in a way that a lot of movie posters have not.
Rocha, the classic guy, says he reads all these books. Yeah, the orange, and that really pops.
I like his Family Feud.
Draws
Good
me
answer.
out.
Good
Draws
answer.
me
Family
out.
Feud moment.
It's so easy to comment a poster, even if you haven't seen it. Like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a great poster. The
You know what
lettering.
I'm talking about.
The
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now poster is fantastic with
Okay.
Brando in the back kind of melting into the sun with everyone there in the front, and then the way the Apocalypse Now font of how it's written on the poster is incredible. I would say the Blade Runner poster the first Blade Runner poster is fantastic. The God's Eye view with the building down there. You see the Blade Runner, you see all the characters involved in the film there. I love that poster. Those are my favorite. But simple and to the point, that Jaws poster is incredible. A lone person swimming, a lone woman swimming there, and this impending death coming right below. It is simple, to the point. The water, it scares the living hell out of you. And that Jaws 4-letter large red font of that just conveys that film to you incredibly. Oh, and Alien is another one. Alien.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
in
one.
space, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah.
That's an awesome tagline.
What the hell's that green crack?
Yeah, green crack. Yeah, exactly.
I
Alien
think
is great.
maybe besides Jaws, to me, it was a really good one too. But the most just simple yet effective piece of marketing in cinema history, I'll say since the 2000s.
Yeah.
The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I think that poster sold itself so freaking well.
It's a brilliant call.
Just a yellow background.
Yeah.
With Steve Carell, the name 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah.
Everybody sees the name,
Yeah.
they look at the picture, and they laugh and they want to see it.
He's earnestly looking like he wants to be accepted.
That's what a 40-year-old virgin looks like.
Yep.
Exactly.
There we go.
Great answer, Ellis.
Nice choice.
Hey,
Ellis.
we agreed on something, and that's when we end the show. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Collider Movie Talk. My name is Mark. I got a big show October 26th at Los Globos Theater right here in Los Angeles. You can get tickets at markellislive.com. I want to thank my panelists, Jeff Sneider. Maybe he likes the Pet Sematary trailer, and John Rocha. So easy to please, he even like the poster. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.